What's up, guys? This is American Shogun coming to you once again from the Temple of Iron, per usual. I am trying to get as much gym time in as I can, which really isn't any different from normal. But, you know, of course, the topic of this video, the coronavirus, be prepared. And it's got to the point now where, whether it be the CDC, different organizations all around the world, they are pretty much admitting this is a pandemic. This is going to be global. I would say every major first world nation is going to in some way get infected by this. Maybe not Greenland if you play Plague Inc., you know, unless Greenland's already been infected, but Greenland is the place to go for all those Plague Inc. players out there. You know what's up. But it's got to that point now. And because of that, I really wanted to make a video to put out to my sphere of influence, the people that watch my videos. And by the way, thanks to everyone who's been liking, subscribing, and sharing. Please continue to do so and interact. I appreciate everything y'all been doing. You know, just watching the videos is great, but please remember to like, please remember to share, and definitely subscribe if you haven't subscribed. But segue back in there. But it's something that I wanted to put out, just kind of basic prepper information that a lot of people may not be privy to. And again, I really just want to try to help folks out with this. So anyone that sees this, I basically have 4 points, you know, because again, there's already been confirmed cases in California. We all know how California is with their population, the filth that some areas, bigger cities, are covered in. So I would say it's probably going to be spreading pretty quickly throughout California, to be real, unless they just do an amazing job of containing it. And to be honest, it's hard to say. I'll go ahead and first say, I don't think this is going to be an absolute catastrophe. I don't think that the disease itself, I'm not severely worried about the disease itself. The virus, I should say, you know, the virus, the coronavirus. I'm not necessarily worried about that in particular. Now, for children and babies, yes. And older folks, definitely. But for people in my age range, not so much. What I'm worried about is the social component, the economic component, the panic with the population, you know, the chaos that could ensue in cities, and certain lockdowns and quarantines that may take place. You know, if depending on how things progress, the government may shut down and quarantine certain roadways. You know, they may cut off travel in America to certain areas. So some people will be stuck. Some industries are going to be affected. You know, you're also going to have workers who just decide not to come to work. You're going to have people that are key in the supply chain of our food decide, nah, I'm not taking the risk, or I'm going to sit this one out. And I've mentioned this before, but we are on a just-in-time delivery service for our food at grocery stores, just in time. That means that we no longer on a system of massive food stores being in all the grocery stores and supermarkets. Basically, they depend on that constant stream of supply getting to them so they can restock. So if that supply chain is disrupted, even for, you know, a few weeks, that's going to be disastrous, has the potential to be disastrous. So that's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about food shortages. I'm worried about basic supply shortages, whether they be, toiletries, toilet paper. It could be hand towels or paper towels. It could be Lysol spray. Just imagine. Well, what if in an area that with a population of 100,000 people, there's no toilet paper anywhere within a 50-mile spread? What's that going to look like? People, you might think it's funny, but when certain small items that have become very essential to American society become scarce, how are people going to react to that? What's going to happen? What's it going to look like? And this is again why I'm wanting to make this video. So there's really 4 points that I want to go over. The first being, try to get some type of respirator system, whether it's the M90 or M95 masks, some type of painter's mask, or carpentry, the mask that certain carpenters or painters will use with the respirator system. Try to get those. Those are becoming super hard to get. Just something that can protect your breathing. Something where more so, I'm not really worried about the virus floating in the air, because again, the research I've done, the particles of this virus are heavy, so they're going to fall on surfaces. So you should be more worried about disinfecting different surfaces and being wary of what you touch in public, rather than just the virus floating and getting into your system. Now, obviously, if you go into a crowd, if you have something covering your face in case someone who's infected sneezes, physical liquid going on to you, maybe near your face or something along those lines, okay, it's good then. But again, you're not going to have to worry so much about inhaling the coronavirus particles. From the way I understand it, it's more so because of how the particles are, they're going to fall on certain surfaces. So that's what you should be worried about more so. So maybe be a little more, particular about disinfecting things. Get Lysol spray, things like that. So that would be, to combat the virus directly, some type of breather system. Keep track of different websites that are doing it. I'm actually going to link a website called Canadian Preparedness. It's from a guy called Canadian Prepper here on YouTube. He's a very trustworthy guy. You could say a vetted guy in the prepper community. And again, so I'm trying to put this information out, and again, my sphere of influence for people who may not know these things. His stuff sells out fast, but he's working to restock. He is working to get more gas mask and respirator systems in stock. He was actually out for a few days. Today he got some more stuff in, but a lot of it's already sold out. So again, I'll link him below, or at least his website. I'll probably link his YouTube as well, because he's a really good resource. If you're looking to get into more prepping and just being prepared in general, he's an amazing resource. So try to get those things. Stuff to disinfect, Lysol wipes, some type of Lysol spray. It can be the Great Value brand, it can be an off-brand, just something to disinfect. Germex, try to get as much Germex as you can. The Equate, the Walmart brand, great stuff. Buy some chunks of that. Don't be afraid to spend a little money on that stuff, because that's the type of stuff that's going to be useful for you if nothing major happens and this all blows over. We go get a pint while it blows over. But that's the type of stuff. The disinfectant wipes and all that. That's something you can buy and not worry about wasting your money. The respirator systems, the mask, yeah. Unless you're trying to do some painting at some point after all this, gets worked out, which I do think it will. It is what it is. Got to be prepared, and possibly some type of DuPont Trivac suit, a full body suit with a hood where you can pull over in case you have to go. Let's just say there's a situation that arose, you had to go somewhere. A full body suit. I'm not talking about a full-on hazmat suit, but just something to cover your body to where you can confidently go out in public. So that's the basic stuff. That's probably what you've already heard. But again, I'm going to hook you up with a website, reliable guy, and just keep a watch on it. The second point, and I've kind of already touched on this, but depending on how this goes, you could have a lot of workers, a lot of food industry workers that just decide, hey, we're not going to work, depending on how bad it gets. The government could quarantine certain areas. We don't know. They might a quarantine on the other half of the nation could affect the food supply chain on the other side of the nation. And I've mentioned this before, but we are on a just-in-time delivery service. And what that basically means is that we get all of our food just in time to grocery stores and supermarkets. It's a way to keep space efficient and not have to store a bunch of food and different goods in your physical space. And if you have a disruption of that, even 2 weeks or a month, it could be disastrous, and that's what I'm more so worried about. I'm not really worried about the virus itself. Like I said, I am primarily worried with the effects it's going to have on the economy and the effects it's going to have on the social fabric of America and how people are going to react to it. And when people freak out, we're in South Carolina here, we get a little bit of snow and the grocery stores get raided. Think of it, basically, bottled water is going to get bought up fast. Non-perishable food items are going to get bought up fast. So try your best. And again, there's nothing wrong with food. Buy canned goods. Start going to your local grocery store, Walmart, tomorrow, today, and get some soups, some pastas, rice, Spam is going to last you for quite a while. If you want to get a little bit more serious, you can look into getting freeze-dried foods. There's the company called Wise. There's Mountain House. That's a little pricier, but those are two good brands, two time-tested, proven brands. You can get them on Amazon. Right now, food is plentiful. Toiletries, things of that nature, toilet paper, paper towels, toothpaste, vitamins, all that's plentiful right now. So maybe start stocking up. Your next trip to the grocery store, or you need to pick up some random thing at Walmart, you need to pick up some new mouthwash from Walmart. Why not pick up an extra thing of mouthwash and some Germ-X? You might not normally do that, but why not go ahead and start doing that? The just basic things like that in a shortage of supplies are going to be a lifesaver for you and your family. And it could also be something you could barter with, and this goes for really any necessities you'd need, whether it be water, food, different supplies. Just slowly start to stock up. I think that's where most of the issues are going to arise, whether it be through government quarantine or just people not going to their jobs and the supply chains breaking down for a period of time. You want to make sure that you and your family are taken care of, and you have those necessities that will get you through. Aim. I would recommend aim at least to have a month's supply. Start working towards a month's supply of food and household items, the necessities, and just try to have that stocked up. For this situation, I honestly think that would be sufficient. It might not be, but I think I hope that would be enough. But that's a goal, because people say, well, where do I start? How much do I buy? Just think about how much you use when it comes to food or other essentials in a month's time. Start buying pieces to have an extra month on hand already. Something that I personally think that it can be underrated, but is very good, would be protein powder. Because protein powder, a lot of those, they're going to have amino acids, your protein obviously, different vitamins and minerals added in. I'm not going to recommend any brands, but just look and see what you would prefer. Because with that, all you need is water. You just need to mix it with water. It can be cold water, hot water, or not hot, but warm. That may not be appetizing, but it'll get you done. You'll be able to have more than you would otherwise, and it's super easy to fix and store. And protein powder keeps for an insanely long time. You can still use protein powder a year or two after it's expired, as long as it stays dry. It has a pretty decent shelf life. So again, that's something that you don't have to regret buying if all this blows over, and you won't have to worry about having wasted money. The third part is, you could say, a little more dark, but it goes along with picking up stuff. Now, if that situation arises, if the food trucks stop coming, get a little water here. Try to open up this Yeti. Okay, there we go. The one-handed style. But if the supply chain stop and people get desperate, and the majority of the population is not going to be prepared for something like this, if Walmart shelves start going barren and half the fast food places have to shut down because workers aren't showing up, and the other half lose all their food quickly, they get bought out, and there's a quarantine in this part of the nation and that part of the nation, and food trucks can't get here, and just the supply chains break down. People who produce the food and package the food decide they're not coming to work either. There's so many places in our current system, because we don't shop locally. There's not as many local options, that if there's so many different points in the chain of delivery for our food and necessities that could break down and destroy the whole system, or put a major chink in the armor of the whole system. People are gonna be hangry, and that's something we're not used to in America. Imagine mixing the imminent danger of a global pandemic, the largest quarantine in human history. At first, I didn't think this was a big deal, but it's literally we have the largest quarantine in human history happening right now. It is a big deal. Japan, from what I read today, Japan has shut down all their schools for a period of time. It's bad. And put that context, mix that with a tangible threat of not having food, not having your basic supplies, not having your toilet paper, or your paper towels, or your soap, or your toothpaste. All that mixed together with a people that is very privileged, and most people in America have never suffered in the way that millions of people on this planet have suffered, or still currently do to this very day in different third world nations. So a lot of people, and myself included, I have never experienced extreme hunger in a situation where there was a looming pandemic threat and lack of supplies. I've never experienced that. Most Americans have never experienced that, unless they have been in a massive natural disaster situation or a war overseas. So it's going to be a whole new world. It's going to be a brave new world. And again, it could, even if it would only last for a month, however long, it's going to be chaos when the stores start shutting down and the government starts quarantining places. And you want to be able to protect yourself and your family. You need to start getting some weapons. If you're the type of person that just doesn't have, you don't, let's say you don't even own anything, because there's people who own weapons, whether they be, machetes, axes, different knives, maybe one, a gun for the house, maybe a few, but they don't really personally carry stuff or drill with it or train. You should be doing those things. I don't drill as much as I should with firearms, but there's some people that don't have anything. If you're watching this and you don't have anything to fight off attackers trying to come into your house, or when you're out trying to go do a supply run, or traveling to help a family member get from point A to point B, you need to have something to protect yourself. You really do. And so I would say, if you don't own a gun, take the funds. If you got savings, take the savings out. Get something. Get a Springfield, get a Glock, get a Ruger, get something, get a Smith & Wesson, whatever. Get you a gun. It can just be a basic 9mm handgun. It can be some type of revolver. It doesn't have to be an AR-15. Get you a shotgun. I'd personally recommend having one rifle in your house at least, and 1 to 2 handguns. That way you'll always be able to arm multiple people to defend your property. Or if something goes wrong with one, you'll have backup. Now, that I gotta say that it may sound scary to talk about that, but you need to start thinking in that way. You need to start thinking about what people are going to do when they're desperate in a situation or in a context of fear and global panic, and they're put in a situation that they've never been in. They're experiencing fears and pain, hunger pain, that they've never really had to deal with. You'd be surprised what type of people, or the people you think wouldn't do anything. Just look at human history. It is what it is. So try to be prepared the best you can in that way. Now obviously, the bullets, guns, melee weapons, those are all in high supply right now. So get something while you can. The third point is, I guess you could say something, it's more of a general recommendation of conduct in situations like this. There's something with preppers known as being the gray man. Basically, you blend in. You don't stand out. And what that means, let's say there's a quarantine situation and there's mandatory, well, not mandatory, but there's supplies that the government is providing. Let's say this continues on, things get progressively worse over a month's period, going into 2 months, and the government says, okay, we've got to start giving out some basic supplies to people. We've got to start providing certain toiletries and very basic food to people who may need it, who are maybe not infected, and they're trying to live life, but they can't. Go to things like that. If there's something in your neighborhood, or neighborhood, definitely. Now, if it's a wider county meet, you might could get away with not going to that if you don't want to, if you prepped and you have your supplies. But if they do something, and maybe you don't really live in a neighborhood to where the government is going to set up some type of outpost or have a truck basically to come and give you stuff. If you're in a situation where basically all the people in your neighborhood surrounding you can see that you're not in need and you're not taking the government handouts that are the provisions that they're giving, that's going to raise suspicion. They're going to look at you and say, why aren't they doing that? And why does this person and their family not look like they're going through hard times? Now, I'm not saying you could even make yourself look dirty. Don't shower, or do something to make yourself look more desperate. But the main point is, don't stand out. Don't flaunt your security to people. Keep it on the down low. Be the gray man. Now, at the same time, there's a conflict with preppers of being the gray man and presenting yourself as a threat, presenting yourself as someone not to mess around with. You have to decide how you want to conduct yourself and how you want to present yourself in that way. Do you want to set yourself up as an alpha, not to be messed with, and people are just going to leave you alone because they're afraid of you? Or are you going to be the gray man and just blend in and not get on anyone's radar, and you just blend in with everybody, and you're not going to be targeted because there'd be no reason to target you? It depends, It depends on your context. You'll have to use judgment on that. But basically, if you do take the time to prepare, if you already are prepared, don't go out of your way to flaunt it to people. And now, obviously, I'm kind of exposing myself by making a video like this. And any prep or anyone who does that, they're kind of showing, hey, I'm aware of these things and I've taken precautions and preparations. It is what it is. I've really never talked about, I haven't actually talked about my prepping heavily on this channel, and I've never publicly said on any platform to what degree I'm prepared for anything. I just promote ideas and suggestions and protocols, you could say. You know, now the fourth point, it's kind of referencing something that I've talked about going back to my first video when I started doing the social commentary and the political commentary with the Civil War. Is this could prove to be a stimuli that could lead to more civil unrest, especially with the current atmosphere surrounding the Democratic primary looking to the 2020 election. With, it's hard to say at this point, but I think it probably will be Bernie versus Trump, unless the DNC just outright exiles Bernie from the DNC, because I think he's resonating with too many people in too many walks of life for the DNC to completely do away with him. Who knows, you know? But this goes back to that idea of stimuli, something that has to disrupt the day-to-day lives and the security that we have in America to cause people to act and bring them to action when it comes to civil conflicts. And certain groups in America could use this as a way to try and start something in certain areas, in certain larger cities, like someplace in California. You know, it could be Texas, it could be Florida, you know. So that's something to think about. To be honest, I don't think that's going to happen. I really don't. But that's something that I've been thinking about more so, is just the idea of this being a kind of a perfect storm scenario to where some type of social upheaval could occur. Maybe not. But that kind of brings us to the end. Just my thoughts. Again, I wanted to provide some very basic kind of introductory prepper advice on what to have. And going back, I will say maybe some type of axe, machete, something to where you could start a fire if necessary. You could get tinder, you could chop stuff up. That's actually, you know, it may not, I don't think it's going to get to that point, but just look at this as a time to where you can spend a little bit of money on extra supplies that even if you don't necessarily have to use them in this particular scenario, you'll have them. You know, this is all about prepping. But that's more or less what I wanted to put out there, because I know there's people who watch my videos who may not be into prepping and who have never really thought about prepping. But again, something that I wanted to put out there, put the information. I will provide a link to Canadian Preparedness and Canadian Prepper's YouTube channel. I think he's a great resource. But most certainly, more than ever, please be prepared, and God bless the Republic.